Danny Torres pushed his cleaning cart down the long hallway of Nexus Prime Space Station. The wheels made a soft, squeaking sound that echoed off the metal walls. His mobility chair moved smoothly beside the cart, and he hummed a quiet tune as he worked. Most people on the station did not notice him. He was just the janitor cleaning up after everyone else. Danny had worked on Nexus Prime for 3 years now. The space station was huge, with over 50,000 beings from dozens of different alien species. Some were tall and scary looking. Others were small and covered in fur. A few looked almost human but with strange colored skin or extra arms. Danny liked watching them all go about their daily lives. His job was simple: clean the floors, empty the trash bins, and fix small problems that the fancy engineers were too busy to handle. Danny was good at his job, even though his body was not strong. He was born with bones that broke easily and muscles that did not work very well. The mobility chair helped him get around, and he had learned to do most things from sitting down. Tonight was different, though. Tonight was the big diplomatic party in the main hall. All the important people from the Galactic Federation were here: ambassadors, military leaders, and even some famous warriors. Danny had been cleaning extra hard all week to make sure everything looked perfect. He stopped his cart near a service door and checked his tablet. The party had started 2 hours ago. He could hear music and voices coming from the main hall. Danny smiled to himself. He liked it when people were happy and having fun, even if he was not invited to join them. The service door slid open with a quiet hiss. Danny pushed his cart inside and started working on the maintenance tunnels. These narrow passages ran behind the walls of the station. They were full of pipes, wires, and air vents. Most people never saw these tunnels, but Danny knew them better than anyone. He was wiping down a control panel when the lights suddenly went out. Emergency red lights came on a second later, making everything look scary and dark. An alarm started ringing loud and sharp. Danny's tablet buzzed with an emergency message. Security breach. All personnel report to safe areas immediately. Danny felt his heart beating fast. He had never heard this alarm before. Through the thin walls, he could hear people screaming and running. Something was very wrong. He moved his chair toward the main service tunnel but stopped when he heard a loud crash nearby. Someone was in the tunnel with him. Danny turned his chair around and saw something that made his eyes go wide. A huge creature was crawling through the tunnel toward him. It was bigger than any human, with gray skin that looked like stone. Spikes stuck out from its back and arms. Its face had 4 eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth. This was a Vorthak warrior, one of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Danny had seen pictures of Vorthaks before, but never a real one. They were supposed to be nearly impossible to kill. This one looked hurt, though. Green blood was dripping from cuts on its arms, and it was moving slowly and breathing hard. The creature stopped when it saw Danny. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Danny was scared, but something was wrong. The warrior's translator device was sparking and broken. It tried to say something, but only strange clicking sounds came out. Danny noticed something else. The warrior's skin was turning a sick yellow color around the cuts. That was not normal. Danny had read about alien biology as part of his maintenance training. Vorthaks were supposed to heal quickly from injuries. "You're poisoned," Danny said, quietly. He was not sure if the warrior could understand him. The Vorthak made more clicking sounds. It pointed at its throat and then at the cuts on its arms. Danny could see the creature was getting weaker. Without help, it would die soon. Most people would have run away. Danny was not most people. He had spent his whole life being the one who needed help. He knew what it felt like to be scared and alone. Even if this was a dangerous alien warrior, it was hurt and afraid. Danny moved his chair closer. The Vorthak watched him but did not attack. Danny pulled out his tablet and started typing. He showed the screen to the warrior. It had a simple picture of a medical symbol and an arrow pointing toward the medical bay. The Vorthak's 4 eyes looked at the tablet, then at Danny. It made a sound that might have been agreement. "The medical bay is 12 levels up," Danny said, even though he knew the creature could not understand his words. "The main elevators will be locked down because of the emergency, but I know another way." Danny opened his supply kit and pulled out a small medical scanner. It was just a basic one that maintenance workers used to check for dangerous gases or radiation. He pointed it at the Vorthak's wounds and frowned at the readings. The poison was spreading fast. They did not have much time. Danny started moving his chair deeper into the service tunnels. Behind him, the huge warrior followed. It was hard work for both of them. The tunnels were narrow, and the Vorthak had to crawl on its hands and knees. Danny had to stop often to check his route on the tablet, and to let the warrior rest. As they moved through the dark tunnels, Danny started talking. He did not know if it helped, but it made him feel less scared. "My name is Danny," he said. "I work here fixing things that break. I know these tunnels really well. Most people don't even know they exist." The Vorthak made a weak, clicking sound. "You're probably wondering why I'm helping you," Danny continued. "Everyone says your people are dangerous. Maybe that's true. But right now, you're just someone who needs help. I've needed help my whole life. I know how it feels." They came to a junction where 3 tunnels met. Danny checked his tablet again. The medical bay was still 8 levels up, but they were making progress. The Vorthak was moving slower now, and its breathing sounded rough. Danny pulled out a small oxygen tank from his medical kit. It was meant for humans, but oxygen was oxygen. He showed the mask to the warrior and pointed at its mouth. The Vorthak understood and put the mask over its face. After a few breaths, it looked a little better. "That's just temporary," Danny said. "We need to keep moving." As they continued through the tunnels, Danny told the warrior about Earth. He talked about his family, his job, and his dreams of maybe seeing other worlds someday. He talked about human history, about people who did great things even when they were not strong or fast or powerful. The Vorthak listened to everything, even though it could not understand the words. Something in Danny's voice seemed to give it strength to keep going. They were getting close to the medical bay when they heard explosions above them. The attack on the station was getting worse. Danny's tablet showed that life support was failing in some sections. They were running out of time. "Almost there," Danny said. "Just a little further." The Vorthak warrior, the deadliest fighter in 12 star systems, followed the weak human janitor through the dark tunnels toward safety. Neither of them knew that this moment would change both their lives forever. 3 days had passed since the attack on Nexus Prime. The medical bay was quiet now, with only the soft beeping of machines and the gentle hum of air filters. Danny sat in his mobility chair next to a large medical bed where the Vorthak warrior was recovering. The doctors had been amazed. The poison that nearly killed the warrior was something they had never seen before. It was designed specifically to attack Vorthak biology. Without Danny's quick thinking and knowledge of the station's layout, the creature would have died in those dark tunnels. The warrior's name was Krasthak. Danny learned this when the medical team fixed his translator device. For the past 2 days, they had been having simple conversations. Krasthak's voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together, but he spoke carefully and politely. "You should not have helped me," Krasthak said for the 10th time. He was sitting up in bed now, looking much better than when Danny first found him. "It was dangerous. You could have been killed." Danny shrugged and continued working on his tablet. He was updating the maintenance schedules for the damaged sections of the station. "Maybe, but you needed help. That's what people do, right?" "Help? Each other?" Krasthak stared at Danny with his 4 dark eyes. "Not where I come from. Among my people, weakness is death. The strong survive, the weak are forgotten. You are small and fragile, yet you risked your life for someone you did not know." "I'm not that fragile," Danny said with a small smile. "I've been living with this condition for 28 years. I'm tougher than I look." The warrior was quiet for a long moment. "In my culture, when someone saves your life, you owe them a debt, a life debt. It can only be repaid by protecting that person until they no longer need protection." Danny looked up from his tablet. "That's nice, but you don't owe me anything. I just did what anyone would do." "No," Krasthak said firmly. "Most beings would not do what you did. I have fought in many wars and seen many worlds. I have never met anyone like you." Danny felt uncomfortable with the attention. He had always tried to stay out of people's way, to not be a burden. Having a 9-foot-tall alien warrior want to protect him felt strange. "Look," Danny said, "I appreciate the offer, but I have work to do. The station needs repairs, and I'm the only one who knows some of these systems well enough to fix them." Krasthak nodded slowly. "Then I will help you with your work." Danny almost laughed. "You're a famous warrior. You've probably never held a cleaning tool in your life." "I am quick to learn," Krasthak said seriously. The next morning, Danny reported to work as usual. He was surprised to find Krasthak waiting by his supply closet. The warrior had been discharged from medical but was still wearing simple gray clothes instead of armor. He looked huge next to Danny's cleaning cart. "I am ready to begin," Krasthak announced. Danny looked around nervously. Other station workers were staring at them. Word had spread quickly about what happened during the attack. Everyone knew that the famous Krasthak the Destroyer had been saved by the human janitor. Some people thought it was funny. Others whispered that the warrior had lost his honor. "Are you sure about this?" Danny asked quietly. "People are going to talk." "Let them talk," Krasthak said. "I have my duty." So they worked together. It was awkward at first. Krasthak was too big for most of the maintenance tunnels, and his stone-like skin made it hard for him to handle delicate equipment. But he watched everything Danny did and asked thoughtful questions. Danny showed him how to read the diagnostic screens that monitored the station's life support systems. He explained how the gravity generators worked and why certain circuits needed to be checked every day. Krasthak listened to everything with intense focus. "Your people built this station?" Krasthak asked while Danny repaired a damaged air filter. "No, humans didn't build it. We joined the Federation only 50 years ago. We're still pretty new compared to most species. The station was built by the Centauri and the Regelians working together. But you understand how it works better than they do." Danny paused in his work. "I've been here longer than most of the engineers. They come and go, but maintenance workers like me stay. We learn the little details that don't show up in the technical manuals." Over the following days, their routine continued. Danny would work on repairs and cleaning while Krasthak helped carry heavy equipment and asked endless questions about human culture. The warrior was fascinated by everything about Earth and humanity. "Tell me about your wars," Krasthak said one afternoon while they were replacing damaged wall panels. "Which ones?" Danny asked. "Humans have fought a lot of wars. The ones where your people showed courage against impossible odds." Danny thought for a moment. "Well, there was this battle called Thermopylae. 300 soldiers held off an army of thousands. They knew they were going to die, but they fought anyway to protect their people." Krasthak nodded approvingly. "Warriors understand sacrifice. But some of our greatest heroes never fought in battles," Danny continued. "There was a woman named Rosa Parks who changed history by refusing to give up her seat on a bus, and a man named Gandhi who defeated an empire without ever using violence." This confused Krasthak. "How do you defeat enemies without fighting?" "Sometimes the best way to win is to make your enemy realize they're wrong," Danny explained. Gandhi showed the world that his people deserved freedom by being peaceful, even when others were violent toward them. Krasthak was quiet for a long time after that. Danny could see he was thinking hard about something. Their friendship was interrupted when new visitors arrived at the station. A group of alien warriors from different species came looking for Krasthak. Danny was working in the main corridor when he saw them approaching. They were all tall and muscular, with scars and weapons that marked them as fighters. The leader was a Zenthari with silver skin and 6 arms. His name was Vexalar, and he spoke in a voice full of contempt. "So this is the mighty Krasthak," Vexalar said loudly so everyone could hear. Following around a crippled human like a pet, Krasthak stepped protectively in front of Danny's chair. "Speak carefully, Vexalar. Your words show more about your character than mine." "My character?" Vexalar laughed. "I am not the one who has forgotten what it means to be a warrior. Look at you, playing with cleaning supplies and listening to stories from a weakling." Other beings in the corridor had stopped to watch. Danny felt his face getting red with embarrassment. He tried to move his chair away, but Krasthak put a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Danny Torres has more courage than any warrior I have known. Krasthak said firmly. He risked his life to save mine when he had nothing to gain from it. Vexillar made a disgusted sound. Courage? This creature cannot even walk. What kind of warrior are you becoming, Krasthak? Have you forgotten that strength is what matters in this galaxy? Perhaps I am learning that there are different kinds of strength, Krasthak replied. Vexillar smiled coldly. Then prove it. Face us in the arena as warriors do, but since you care so much about your human pet, he must face the challenges too. If this weakling can survive what we have planned, then maybe your new philosophy has merit. Danny felt his heart racing. He had never fought anyone in his life, but when he looked up at Krasthak, he saw something in the warrior's eyes that he had never seen before. Doubt. I accept, Danny said quietly. Everyone turned to stare at him. Vexillar laughed out loud. You accept? The Zenthari warrior said. Do you even know what you have agreed to, little human? Danny looked at Krasthak, then at the group of alien warriors. He was scared, but he was also angry. These beings thought they could judge his friend based on their friendship. They thought being different made someone weak. I know exactly what I've agreed to, Danny said, his voice growing stronger. And I'm ready. The arena on Nexus Prime had not been used in 20 years. It was a large circular room with metal walls and bright lights overhead. Hundreds of beings from different species had gathered to watch the challenge. Danny had never seen so many aliens in one place before. He sat in his mobility chair at the edge of the arena floor, feeling very small. His hands were shaking a little, but he tried not to show it. Krasthak stood beside him, looking worried. You do not have to do this, Krasthak said quietly. I can face them alone. Danny shook his head. They want to prove that humans are weak and useless. If I run away now, they'll think they're right. Besides, you're my friend. Friends don't abandon each other. Vexillar and his group of warriors were on the other side of the arena. They looked confident and eager for the challenges to begin. The Zenthari warrior was explaining the rules to the crowd through a microphone. 3 challenges, Vexillar announced. Each one designed to test true warrior skills. If the human fails even one challenge, both he and Krasthak will be dishonored forever. An official from the Federation stepped forward. These challenges must be fair, she said. They cannot be impossible for any species to complete. Vexillar smiled coldly. Of course. Each challenge has been completed by warriors before. We are not asking for anything unreasonable. Danny knew this was a lie. The challenges would be designed for beings much stronger and faster than humans. But he had agreed, and there was no backing out now. The first challenge was revealed when a section of the arena floor slid away. Below was a complex maze with metal walls 20 feet high. Danny could see sharp spikes, spinning blades, and holes that probably contained traps. At the center of the maze was a glowing crystal that he would need to reach and bring back. The Maze of Pain, Vexillar announced. Many warriors have died trying to complete it. The human has 30 minutes. Danny looked down at these. From above, he could see the whole layout. There was only one path that led to the center, but it was full of deadly obstacles. Most warriors would try to power through with speed and strength. Danny was not most warriors. He moved his mobility chair to the elevator that would take him down into the maze. As the platform descended, Danny studied every detail he could see. The metal walls had small vents near the bottom. The spinning blades moved in a regular pattern. The spike traps were triggered by pressure plates. This isn't a warrior's maze, Danny said to himself. It's a maintenance puzzle. When he reached the bottom, Danny immediately went to one of the wall vents. Just as he suspected, it was connected to the station's air circulation system. Danny had worked on these systems many times. He knew that maintenance workers could access the maze through the ventilation shafts, but that would be cheating, and Danny wanted to win fairly. Instead, he used his knowledge of the station's systems to understand how the maze worked. The traps were powered by the same energy grid that ran through the whole station. The spinning blades were controlled by motion sensors. Even the spike traps had safety protocols built in. Danny began moving through the maze slowly and carefully. When he came to the first spinning blade, he waited and watched. The blade spun fast for 30 seconds, then slowed down for 10 seconds to prevent overheating. During those 10 seconds, Danny rolled his chair through safely. The spike traps were harder. Danny noticed that they were designed to catch running warriors, but they had weight sensors. His mobility chair was much lighter than an armored alien warrior. Most of the traps did not even trigger when he passed over them. The crowd above was getting restless. They expected to see action and violence, not a human in a wheelchair carefully studying each obstacle. Some of them started booing. Danny ignored them and continued forward. He came to a section where the floor was covered with a glowing liquid that looked dangerous. Other warriors had probably jumped over it or used their strength to swing across on chains hanging from the ceiling. Danny had a different idea. He took out his maintenance scanner and tested the liquid. It was just a harmless chemical that glowed under the arena lights. The real danger was the electrical current running through the metal floor underneath. Danny used his insulated tools to create a safe path across. 25 minutes later, Danny reached the center of the maze and picked up the crystal. The crowd was completely silent as he made his way back. He had not triggered a single trap or been hurt by any of the obstacles. When Danny emerged from the maze, Vexillar was furious. Impossible. No one has ever completed that challenge without being injured. Maybe, Danny said, breathing hard but smiling. You need to think about challenges differently. The second challenge was even more frightening. A section of the arena floor opened to reveal a deep pit. Inside was a massive creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard. It had 6 legs, razor-sharp claws, and teeth like knives. This was a Kroner beast, one of the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The beast pit, Vexillar announced. The human must survive alone with the Kroner for 10 minutes. No weapons, no help. Danny was lowered into the pit on a platform. The beast immediately rushed toward him, roaring loud enough to make his ears hurt. Danny's first instinct was to run, but there was nowhere to go in the small pit. Instead, Danny did something that surprised everyone. He stopped his chair and watched the beast carefully. As it got closer, Danny noticed something that the bloodthirsty crowd had missed. The creature was limping on its front left leg. Its eyes were cloudy with pain and infection. Its roar was not just aggressive, it was desperate. "You're hurt, aren't you?" Danny said softly. "They've been keeping you in this pit, making you fight warriors for entertainment. That's not right." The beast stopped a few feet away from Danny's chair. It was still growling, but Danny could see confusion in its eyes. No one had ever spoken gently to it before. Danny slowly reached into his mobility chair's supply kit and pulled out a small medical scanner. The beast backed away, but Danny kept talking in a calm, quiet voice. "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to see what's wrong with your leg." For the next several minutes, Danny worked with the injured beast. He cleaned the infected wound on its leg with antiseptic from his first aid kit. He gave it water from his emergency supply. Slowly, the creature began to trust him. The crowd watched in amazement as Danny and the Kroner beast sat peacefully together. When the 10 minutes were up, the beast actually seemed sad to see Danny go. "How did you do that?" Krasthak asked when Danny was lifted out of the pit. "I used to volunteer at an animal shelter back on Earth," Danny explained. "Hurt animals just need someone to be patient with them." Vexillar was getting more frustrated with each challenge. The third and final test was revealed to be an ancient alien artifact covered in complex symbols and buttons. It was said to be a puzzle that had stumped scholars for hundreds of years. "The puzzle of the ancients," Vexillar said. "The human has 5 minutes to solve it or he will be disintegrated by the artifact's defense system." Danny was wheeled over to the artifact. It was about the size of a refrigerator, covered in blinking lights and strange markings. As soon as he got close, a timer started counting down from 5 minutes. Danny looked at the artifact and smiled. After years of maintaining alien technology, he recognized what he was seeing. This was not a puzzle at all. It was a piece of ancient machinery that was broken. "You're not supposed to solve this," Danny said out loud. "You're supposed to fix it." Danny got to work with his tools. He opened a panel that others had probably thought was part of the puzzle. Inside were corroded circuits and disconnected wires. Danny quickly began repairs, drawing on all his experience as a maintenance worker. With 30 seconds left on the timer, Danny reconnected the last wire. The artifact stopped blinking angrily, and began humming peacefully. Instead of disintegrating, it projected a beautiful hologram of an ancient alien city. The crowd erupted in cheers. Danny had not just survived all 3 challenges, he had succeeded in ways that no warrior had ever imagined. He had shown that sometimes the best way to overcome obstacles was not to fight them, but to understand them. Vexillor stood in stunned silence, unable to believe what he had witnessed. Krasthak walked over to Danny's chair and placed a proud hand on his friend's shoulder. "You have shown them something new," Krasthak said quietly. "You have shown them what real strength looks like." The arena was completely silent after Danny's victory. Hundreds of alien beings stared down at the small human in his mobility chair, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. Vexillor looked like someone had hit him with a hammer. His 6 arms hung limp at his sides. "Impossible," the Zenthari warrior whispered. "No one has ever completed all 3 challenges like that." Danny wiped sweat from his forehead and looked up at the crowd. He felt tired, but proud. "Maybe you've been thinking about the challenges the wrong way," he said. Krasthak walked over to Danny and knelt down beside his chair. The huge warrior's 4 eyes were bright with something Danny had never seen before: complete respect. "Friend," Krasthak said quietly, "today you have taught me what it truly means to be strong." The crowd began to murmur and talk among themselves. Videos of Danny's challenges were already being shared across the Galactic Communication Network. Within hours, beings on thousands of worlds would see how a disabled human janitor had succeeded where legendary warriors had failed. But Vexillor was not finished. His face was red with anger and embarrassment. "This proves nothing," he shouted. "The human got lucky. He used tricks instead of real strength." "Is that what you think?" Danny asked, looking directly at the Zenthari warrior. "That caring for a hurt animal is just a trick? That fixing something instead of breaking it is not real skill? Strength comes from power," Vexillor insisted, "from the ability to destroy your enemies." Krasthak stood up slowly. When he spoke, his voice carried across the entire arena. "I have spent my whole life believing that, Vexillor. I have conquered planets and defeated armies. I thought strength meant being feared." The crowd listened carefully. Krasthak the Destroyer was famous across the galaxy. When he spoke, people paid attention. "But this human showed me something different," Krasthak continued. "He risked his life to save mine when he had nothing to gain. He solved problems that warriors could not solve, not by fighting them, but by understanding them. He showed kindness to a creature that everyone else saw as a monster." Krasthak looked around at all the warriors who had come to challenge him. Danny Torres fights battles every day just by living in a galaxy that was not designed for someone like him. He faces each day with courage and hope, even when others see him as weak. If that is not strength, then I do not know what strength is. The other warriors in Vexillor's group were starting to look uncomfortable. A few of them nodded slowly at Krasthak's words. They had seen Danny's victory with their own eyes, and it had made them think. "You have gone soft," Vexillor said, but his voice was not as confident as before. "Both of you are a disgrace to warrior culture." "No," said a new voice. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was Thera, a female warrior from the Rigelian Empire. She was known for her honor and wisdom. "Vexillor, you are the one who brings disgrace. You came here to humiliate and destroy, but instead you have been shown a better way." More warriors began to speak up. They talked about what they had witnessed in the arena. Some were confused, but others were beginning to understand what Krasthak meant. "The human did not win through violence," said Korex, a massive warrior from the outer worlds. "He won through intelligence and compassion. Perhaps we have been thinking about strength in the wrong way." Over the following days, word of Danny's victory spread throughout the galaxy. The videos were watched billions of times. News reporters came to Nexus Prime to interview the human janitor, who had changed the way people thought about warriors. Danny was not comfortable with all the attention. He tried to go back to his normal routine, but everywhere he went, people wanted to talk to him. Some were curious, others were respectful, and a few were even grateful. "I don't understand why everyone is making such a big deal about this," Danny told Krasthak one evening as they worked together in the maintenance tunnels. I just did what needed to be done. That is exactly why it is a big deal, Krasthak replied. Most beings would not have done what you did. You showed them that there are different ways to be strong. Messages started arriving from across the galaxy. Other beings who had been overlooked or considered weak wanted to share their stories with Danny. There was a maintenance worker on a mining station who had prevented a disaster by noticing a small problem that engineers had missed. There was a cook on a military ship who had ended a fight between two species by teaching them to work together in his kitchen. Danny realized that he was not alone. Throughout the galaxy, there were beings like him who were quietly making things better in their own small ways. Krasthak began teaching other warriors about what he called the Torres Doctrine. It was named after Danny, though Danny was embarrassed by the name. The doctrine taught that true warriors protected those who could not protect themselves. It taught that the best victory was one where no one had to be hurt. Not all warriors accepted these new ideas. Some, like Vexillar, refused to change their thinking, but others were eager to learn. They came to Nexus Prime to study with Krasthak and to meet the human who had started it all. The Federation Council took notice of what was happening. They invited Danny to speak at their next meeting. Danny was nervous about addressing the most powerful beings in the galaxy, but Krasthak encouraged him. "Tell them what you told me," Krasthak said. "Tell them that everyone has value, even those who seem weak." At the council meeting, Danny spoke simply and honestly. He talked about his life as a maintenance worker and how he had learned that small problems, if ignored, could become big disasters. He talked about the importance of seeing things that others missed and of caring for those who were forgotten. "Every being in this galaxy has something valuable to offer," Danny said to the council. "The question is whether we are wise enough to recognize that value, even when it comes in an unexpected form." The council voted to create new programs that would give opportunities to beings who had been overlooked. They established the Guardian Corps, a group of warriors who followed the Torres Doctrine and focused on protection rather than conquest. Months later, Danny was back to his normal routine on Nexus Prime. He still cleaned floors and fixed broken equipment, but now he had a larger purpose. He had started a network of maintenance workers, service staff, and other invisible beings throughout the galaxy. They shared information about problems they noticed and solutions they discovered. Krasthak had become the leader of the Guardian Corps. He still carried weapons and could still fight when necessary, but now he spent most of his time teaching and protecting others. One evening, Danny and Krasthak sat together in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Ships from dozens of worlds moved through space around the station, carrying beings who were learning to see strength in new ways. "Do you ever regret it?" Danny asked his friend. "Giving up your old life as a destroyer?" Krasthak thought for a moment. "I destroyed many things in my old life," he said, "but I never built anything. I never made anything better. Now, because of what you taught me, I am helping to build something that will last long after both of us are gone." Danny smiled and looked back out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other beings were learning that being different did not mean being weak. Somewhere out there, warriors were choosing to protect instead of conquer. And somewhere out there, the galaxy was becoming a little bit kinder. The deadliest warrior in the galaxy had learned from the weakest man on Earth that true strength came not from the power to destroy, but from the courage to care. And that lesson was spreading to every corner of the stars.